Well, good afternoon to you. I'm Jan Markowitz, and you are listening to God at Work. My guest is Beth Bishop, and she's here to share with us some of the things that God has done in her life. Well, you went through quite a few struggles there, and even health-wise. So could you share with us what you had to go through and what God did for you?
Well, to tell you the truth, Jan, I fell down our basement stairs in 1994 and got up and thought I was all right, but began to have severe headaches over a period of time and just had no relief from those headaches for quite a long time, and began to kind of lose hope, to tell you the truth. When you're in that much pain and not able to sleep at night, you begin to become depressed for lack of rest and just lack of wellness, I guess you would say.
Did you go to a doctor for that?
I didn't for a long time. I guess I just was of the mindset that if you take good care of yourself, you'll be all right eventually, I guess. And having seen my mother go through a lot of health problems, I thought if I just take good care of myself and eat the right foods and stay slim and exercise, I'll be okay. Mm-hmm. And I just, so for a long time it never even occurred to me. Because I worked in the over-the-counter area of the pharmacy and at Walmart here in Worcester, I just kind of treated myself with ibuprofen and different things like that. And quite honestly, our pharmacist there was so kind. John would tell me through the day how much I could take, and I just kept on taking over-the-counter pain relievers day and night to get through. But the pain did continue to get worse and worse. And like I said, I began to lose hope, and depression pretty much took over. I can even remember at one point saying, I don't really care if I live anymore. And as soon as the words came out of my mouth, I thought, I can't believe I said that out loud.
Well, as a person who suffers from back problems and migraine headaches, I can really empathize with you.
Uh-huh.
And did you get the nausea that goes along with the headaches?
I don't recall getting nausea, but the headaches, I know they would some of the time would shoot over my head and into my eyes, and
that hurts.
Made it so difficult. Yes, we ended up going to Cleveland to a special neurologist, and he did a lot of testing, and we really thought this was going to, he was going to find it because he was so well renowned, and we thought he's going to have the answer, and this is going to be it.
And of course, you were Christians at the time?
Yes.
And you were lifting this up in prayer before the Lord?
Mm-hmm. So yes, our church body was praying for us, and in fact, I had lost so much physical strength that I was barely able to keep working at my job. I was doing that, and quite honestly, I was doing almost nothing else. There was no recreation anymore. I would come home from work and just lay on the couch. That's pretty much what I did, just trying to keep my job. Our daughters were both in college at that point, and they were going to Malone, and we were, making sure we kept up with our bills, and I felt I had to keep working full-time to pay the bills and help with the college bills. And Dan and I are a team, so, it was very important to me to be a part of that team.
So here you go. You're not feeling well. You're suffering from fatigue and all kinds of pains in your body and migraine headaches. And what did the doctor find through your testing?
Through the MRI that he did, he honestly, at that point, we didn't realize it, but he did not conduct the MRI low enough in my neck to find what turned out to be a severely herniated disc in my neck. Mm-hmm. So we went through several more years. He actually sent me home, patted me on the shoulder, and said that I had migraines and some nerve damage. And, of course, at that point, I knew I had bone spurs down my spine through some other testing. But he just told me I would have to learn to live with it.
Is that right? There's nothing they could do.
Yeah, right. At that point, I thought, well, he's the doctor. He knows. So
that's so discouraging, and I could see where that would cause depression.
Yes, absolutely. And I thought, well, he knows, and that's it. I have to keep living with it, and I'm trusting God that that's the way it is. So, and I knew that my mother also suffered from really bad arthritis and bone spurs, and I thought, well, if that's what God has for my life, He certainly knows what's best, and I will just do my best to still be, what He wants me to be, and live through the pain. So that's what I did. I kept working, kept going forward, kept trying to survive, and quite honestly, that's what it felt like, surviving at that point. And I know that Dan would often say to me, are you sure you can do this? Are you okay? And I said, I can keep going, I can do it. And
it's tough, though.
We got to probably, I think it was about January, and now remember, this has happened in 1994, and at this point, it's January of 2001, and I said to him, I don't think I can do this much more. And, I could just see his face like rewinding, thinking, okay, I've got to refigure our budget because my wife needs to not work anymore. And he was very gracious. He figured out how we could still pay our bills, and within a couple months, then I left my job at Walmart that I loved so much. But here we are, 9 years into this at Walmart, what I love. And so I thought, this is what's wrong with me. There's nothing to fix it. So I guess I'll just stay at home and do the best I can to survive.
Mm-hmm. But then some good news came your way.
Some good news did. My husband's Aunt Janet, she's a registered nurse and very knowledgeable, and we think the world of her. And she mentioned to Dan that she knew of a new doctor in our town, and he was, I believe, a DO, which I think it's something to do with orthopedic. And she said, he's really good, and he's helped a lot of people. And so Dan came to me and said, would you go to just this one more doctor? And I said, no, we've wasted money at doctors, and, I just don't want to waste any more money or get my hopes up anymore. And he said, would you please? And, of course, I said, yes, I'll go if that's important to you. He said, well, you're just too young to live in this much pain. I just can't stand to see you in so much pain. So we went to Dr. Knappich, and he conducted some tests, much of what I'd already been through neurologists I'd seen and things like that. And he decided to do an MRI, which I had already had done before. In this case, what I didn't realize was he had gone low enough down on my neck to find this severely herniated disc that was causing so much of this pain. And when we came back to get the results, he told me, he said, you just have a severely herniated disc. And he said, I don't know how you're keeping going. And I said, well, I'm not, but wait a minute, I can't have this herniated disc. I worked in a pharmacy for years, and all these people came in for these strong narcotics, and they were in so much pain, and I prayed for them. I can't have that. I can't have that same thing. And he kind of chuckled, and he looked at me, and he said, well, you do. And he said, but the good news is I can fix it. And Dan and I looked at each other, and he explained that what they do is they can use a piece of cadaver bone, and it is irradiated, so it's completely safe. They remove that herniated disc, and they put this cadaver bone in and fuse the spine together.
Wow. Now, it's kind of scary, huh?
I know.
When you think about any kind of surgery on the spine, it kind of gives me chills, yeah.
Yeah.
But you really prayed about it, I'm sure.
We did. We prayed about it. But at the time, we also thought, is this living, what I'm doing right now?
Right.
And it really wasn't. And so we prayed, and we looked into it, and it just sounded really far-fetched and, like you said, really scary. But we felt like the Lord was saying, yes, go ahead and do it. So we went ahead and did it, and I think that was November of 2003, and I came through that so well. I had laid in a supply of applesauce and pudding, thinking, because they explained to me how they were going to hold my carotid artery, my temporal, they named off things I'd never even heard of. All these things they were going to hold off to the side. My esophagus, they were going to hold that off to the side because they did this surgery from the front of my neck.
Oh, my goodness, I hurt just thinking about it.
Right. But, I laid in all this supply of liquidy things that I would probably need because I thought it'd be really hard to swallow. I came through that surgery. I absolutely needed no pain reliever.
Is that right?
That they kept coming in. The nurses would say, do you want some pain medicine? And I said, no. And they said, are you sure? And
so you weren't in any pain at all?
I was not in any pain at all from that surgery. And I knew that it's important to keep ahead of pain when you feel it coming on because it's harder to treat pain, once you've got it going. And I said, honestly, I'll tell you if I need anything. I did not need a bit of pain medicine, which I guess maybe is a testimony to how much pain I had been in beforehand.
Yeah, and a testimony to what the Lord had done, too. What a blessing.